He has done it all. He has seen it all. Now a very important part of building the future of World Wrestling Entertainment, working with the NXT stars. He's the Heartbreak Kid. He's the one and only Shawn Michaels. Is it really him? Is he actually there? There he is. Wow. This is surreal stuff. Shawn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me. Obviously, thanks for the very warm introduction.
My gosh.
That's very nice.
You are the man. It is a great honor to have you on the program for a few minutes. Congratulations, obviously, on everything that you are currently doing, have done. And there's a lot going on in your world, so let's not waste any time. We saw you on Monday Night Raw, and in particular, the reunion was great. The DX stuff was great. But there was a fan who caught a moment between you and your good friend Triple H afterwards when the cameras went off. You guys had a little moment in the ring. And then he kind of, you walked out. He had his own moment in the ring. Could you tell us, what did you guys say to each other, or particularly what did you say to him in that moment?
Well, look, we said we love each other. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Can you believe it? Can we believe that we're here in this place, in this time right now where, again, it's sort of, it's always kind of been us against the world. We felt like, and now we're really feeling like we've got an opportunity to. We love this job, and to have an opportunity to really, make it everything you hoped or wanted it to be is now real and realistic, and so it's extremely exciting for us. And so it's where we find ourselves, being like we're 15-year-old wrestling fans again, but trying to make sure we have the maturity of of the grown men and and being responsible with everything we've sort of been given, especially from Hunter's standpoint. It's big shoes to fill. But as I feel, trying to fill his shoes here in NXT are big shoes to fill. But we're very excited about the challenge and the responsibility. And so, again, it was just a bit of a surreal moment for both of us in that moment. And again, both of us have been through enough now in our lives that we make sure we don't not appreciate those moments when we have the opportunity.
And there's great symbolism, of course, for longtime fans, because you guys were, members of the Clique. You were DX. You were the Outlaws, so to speak. And now to see you as executives wearing suits, shot collars, the guys at the top. Was there a moment back in the day where you were like, man, if we can do this or that? Like, could you imagine if we were running this joint? Because essentially, I know there's obviously Nick Khan involved, Stephanie involved, but like, you're running NXT, he's running the main roster. It's a pretty incredible, journey from the mid-90s. Did you guys envision this, or has this exceeded your wildest dreams?
Yeah, and look, nothing would throw me more than be able to say, like, oh yeah, we had this big genius plan. But no, I mean, look, when we first started, there were a couple times we were out there walking back up the aisle, wondering if we were going to get fired, because of what we just did on live television. So no, I mean, not by any stretch. No, I think certainly from Hunter's standpoint, look, he's been preparing for this for a decade. And certainly when I came to NXT 5 years ago, I didn't envision this, but I certainly, I guess envision.
There he is. Oh, in a whole new spot. Wow.
Yeah, apparently this one's hardwired in this office.
Okay, you're back.
I don't know how to do this stuff, Ariel. Sorry,
No problem. I appreciate you fighting through it for us. So we'll get back to it. Like you said, you could have never envisioned something like this. But could I ask, now we're almost 3 months removed from the big change, right? Yeah. Like, did you ever think you would live to see a day where Vince wasn't leading charge? Like, you're at an event on Monday, he's not in Gorilla. It's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new world. Your best friend is leading the charge. But did you ever think you would actually see this?
No. Again, you can talk about it, but again, you never look. I never envisioned a time when Vince wasn't there running stuff. I mean, all of us that know him and have worked for him for as long as we have, everyone knows that and I mean this lovingly, but he wanted to pass, at his desk.
Yeah.
That's who he is. That's how he's built. And I had every reason to believe that's exactly what he was going to do. He's always kind of sort of made jokes that, if I die at gorilla position, the show's got to, what I mean? Don't move me, we got to get to seg 10 and 11, you know what I mean? And finish the show. And so, yeah, it's, again, you can talk about it. Again, there's lots of big talk in our line of work, but very rarely do you see it get delivered on. But he's always done what he felt was best for business. And every time you think you know him, you don't. And I think that's what we had here is him believing what was best for business.
I was talking earlier in the show about how great the product is right now. No greater example than Extreme Rules on Saturday with the big Bray Wyatt return. I mean, that was Emmy-worthy stuff. And like I said, you were just there backstage and on the show on Monday. Could you describe, you lived through so many different eras, could you describe what the atmosphere is like? Just talking to some people, everyone keeps saying fresh air, so much fun, being there and feeling it. What is the difference now as opposed to 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago?
Well, look, so for me, again, it's back like it was when we were there in 96 and 97. It was fun. And and I guess that's the thing. It's unfortunate, but honestly, what Hunter created here in NXT, and obviously what I have absolutely tried to keep here again is the joy and the fun of the job that we used to have with Vince. He was out there with us the entire time. We really don't, the coaching and the teaching, that's what he used to do with us all the time. And he absolutely enjoyed the process and was out there laughing and ribbing with us. And that's the environment that we've created here in NXT. And now, look, over the years past, that had changed, but it is now back in full swing. And that's something that, I certainly noticed the difference between this Monday and certainly the times that I've gone back in the last 5 to 10 years. But even when I retired, again, it was a totally different environment than what it kind of became. And I don't know, honestly, I wasn't there, and I don't know how that happened. It's unfortunate, but what I do know is that there is a revival, shall I say, going on, and it's a great thing to be a part of.
Back in 2017, 16, 18, I think you could made a strong case that NXT was the best promotion in the world. The stuff that they were doing, the takeovers, the Brooklyn events, all that stuff, getting guys from all over, established names, the Nakamuras of the world, it was on fire. And I hope I'm not offending you when I say this, because I said it to Triple H himself when we spoke about a month ago. I didn't like in the past year what had become of NXT. I felt I didn't like the rebrand. I didn't like the new logo, even things like that I didn't like. And I felt like it had changed dramatically from what it was. Could I ask what you thought of the past year and all the changes as you were seeing them all? And he was less in charge. He was dealing with his health, of course, most importantly. How did you feel about all the changes of the past year?
Well, look, nothing sucks more than to have to follow in those footsteps and then have all these abrupt changes that you have to then take over. Now, I will say this, and this is from at my knowledge at the time. Like, for instance, the logo that came at the last minute, and even from Hunter's standpoint, to the best of my understanding, it was, this is what it is. And I think that's maybe something that a lot of people. And I saw, the interview that you did with Hunter, where he said, look, I know there are a lot of things that people thought that he wouldn't have done or decisions he didn't make, but they actually were. So there were some things that were, that he did know about, but then there were others, especially as it started going and he wasn't there, that were very different and very difficult, to sort of deal with. And again, me having, stepping in from the outside, really. You can be here in Orlando, but not have any idea what's going on sort of, from a corporate standpoint in Stamford. And that's where it was really difficult for me. I stepped in and no longer was really answering to Hunter. I was answering to other people. And quite honestly, I wasn't really sure who that was because it was different people at different times. So it was very challenging. But look, I will say the one thing that in this company that you have to make sure you adjust to is change. Things can change overnight. But it was my understanding that Hunter did want to get back to the developmental. Now, I don't think we would have done it as drastically. For instance, starting out on the first shows with 75% new people, we wouldn't have put anybody out there before we were ready. So there were some things that were sort of insisted upon that we couldn't control, that I certainly couldn't control. And Hunter, because he wasn't here, had no say in the matter. So look, make no mistake about it. It was challenging and it wasn't fun, having to be that guy to try to balance both sides. You know what I mean? Putting on a 2-hour live wrestling event with people that had never done it before, it is not easy. But again, I will say this, what this crew has been through in the last year has really brought us closer together. And I think you all watched, I think the fans got to see that, watch the progression of these young men and women over the last year. And I don't know, I think over time you've come to at least respect what it is they went up against, because it wasn't easy for any of us. But you know what? You sort of do what you're told. You take that hill, whether you think you should be taking it anyway, and that's what we've certainly tried to do. And when everything's said and done, I think we're all better for it. We're going through the challenge, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say it was freaking rough.
Now that you are the face of NXT, you're not just you are the guy leading the charge in all facets. Ultimately, could you tell us what is your goal? What is your vision for this brand? Do you want to get back to the sold-out Barclays Center days, or is that really not a part of the dream anymore? Are you not looking to get guys from Japan and things like that, established names? Is it really all about developmental?
Well, I think right now it certainly is about developmental, but that is certainly not from the standpoint of forsaking real talent and real ability that's out there. I don't know. To me, you're crazy if you don't see people that are out there that are very valuable, that can be valuable to the WWE, even if it's coming into NXT, just trying to get maybe a feel for how life is here in the WWE, and then quickly moving on, if that be the case. But I know it sounds cliche, and I don't know, maybe not honest, but nothing really is off the table. I've always been one that. And if it's a good idea, I'll steal it from anybody. If there's a really talented guy out there and we think he can help this company, we're crazy not to take him. And because we can still develop people at the same time. And again, because all of our younger talent here is going to benefit from being in the ring with those guys, even if it's just a handful of times. You know what I mean? They're going to glean, such experience from that. But again, I don't ever want to take off the table not getting guys out there that can really contribute to Raw or SmackDown in the future, because that's what's all of this is about, is feeding the machine. But look, I don't know that, and I guess I don't want this to be Hunter's NXT. I don't want it to be Vince's NXT. I mean, and I don't even want it to be mine, to be perfectly honest. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm filling some pretty big shoes. You can never do the first and be the original. Hunter's already done that and established that. I've been fortunate to be a part of a lot of firsts and a lot of originals. So I've learned that you don't come back and try to copy that again. You know what I mean? So we are at the forefront. I'm more focused on developmental, about developing the young men and women that we have passed through here, getting them prepared for the main roster. In the process, again, if we are able to build back this brand where we can get back into those arenas and start selling them out, that's a bonus. But I can't say honestly, Ariel, that that's the goal right now. To me, I'm focused on the development of these young men and women. But I tell you, the more people we can get that have experience and that we can filter through our system, it's only going to help.
Now, I'd be remiss if I don't bring this up. Full disclosure, my first favorite athlete as a youngster, I grew up in Montreal, was Bret the Hitman Hart. My great claim to fame in life is that I was in attendance in 1997 at the Molson Center in Montreal, Survivor Series. I was there to see my guy. I
appreciate you still having me on.
Yes. And I would be lying if I didn't say that there was a period where I blamed you for a lot of the bad things that happened to Bret Hart. But I did see, and obviously I've seen everything, all the confidential, all the videos, all the documentaries. I've seen everything on Wrestling with Shadows. I saw it all. I saw a clip of you guys reuniting, so to speak, at WrestleMania in April. and it was lovely. And I mean, it's amazing, like the emotional attachment that we have to you. I've never met you before. I've only met him once, but like I felt like it was, my long lost brothers talking to each other. It was so beautiful to see the love and respect between the two of you. When was the last time you saw him in person? And could you tell me what that felt like, talking to him and feeling, at least from my vantage point, like there was no animosity, no heat whatsoever, just love and respect?
It was that at WrestleMania. It really was. I mean, we've texted each other back and forth since then, but that WrestleMania is the last time that I can recall.
And prior to that, when was the last time prior to that?
Oh, gosh. I mean, quite some time. I think we might have been at an appearance with one another briefly. But yeah, that WrestleMania was the first time. And look, it really is. I mean, it is genuine. That is not, there's nothing put on there. That was, look, when everything's said and done, that was hard on both of us. You know what I mean? It really was. And for two very different reasons. And we both, again, had to go through this process. And I do know that, I was so, it's kind of weird. I hope you can understand this. I don't mean to prattle on, but it's like an out-of-body experience. I have nothing in common with the person that I was then. You know what I mean? And I do. That's why I always get emotional about it. It's so strange to me. I don't know how I got there. You know what I mean? But I always go like, I'm sorry if you don't think drugs affect somebody. I'm telling you they do, because not my wildest dreams would I think of doing something like that to someone. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that we talk about in this business is the trust that we have when we're out there with one another. And again, Bret and I always talk about it. There was a friendship there before. There really was. And to have damaged that, you know what I mean? And then to have wanted to mend it for many years and it not being possible, or he didn't want to, or, again, we can never get it done. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things. It really sucks. I mean, it isn't a fun place to be. It's not a fun experience to be that guy. And as I say, it means a lot to both of us when we see each other now. And I always appreciate it. He always looks at me and says, we're good. We're good.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that means a lot because I know it's genuine. Bret doesn't say stuff just to say it. You know what I mean? Bret is not a mincer of words.
Yes.
And he means that. And again, it does. It means a lot to me because it's one of those things that, you don't want to go the rest of your life not having that healed.
I know this is a loaded question, but if given the opportunity to do it all over again, November 97, what do you wish you would have done when presented with the plan?
Oh, done everything I could to find an alternative, or I don't know, or have some of it is so much I wasn't afraid of controversy. I wasn't afraid of being hated. I was almost into it dangerously. And so I would have liked, again, it would have had to have been I would have needed to be a different person, the person that I am now, and think about long-term. You know what I mean? I didn't have the ability then to think past that moment, let alone 10 years from now.
Wrestling with Shadows, there's that great scene. Well, I don't know if everyone thinks it's great, but he's getting undressed and you're sitting next to him in the locker room and he asks you if you knew anything and you say, I swear to God, I didn't know. And I always wondered in my mind, like, how were you not worried about sitting so close to him? Because later on we see Vince come in and then leave and it looks like he got, punched. He's all disheveled. And you were sitting literally like feet away from him. It never got tense enough or, awkward or uncomfortable enough where you felt like you needed to go change somewhere else or just leave the building.
You know what? Again, I know because it's funny because I have the reputation for being such a wuss. But the thing is, I just wasn't afraid of anything back then. I just wasn't. Again, to a dangerous standpoint. That's why I always try to make sure I preface it. I'm not saying I was just Mr. Billy Bad, tough guy. I just wasn't afraid of anything. I wasn't afraid of getting my clock clean. Wasn't afraid of dying. Look, and that's why when people always ask me, like, gosh, do you think you would have been able to do the job as well as you did it if you didn't have that attitude? I'm not sure because, look, I am at my, soul, a pretty conservative. I don't like the spotlight. I don't, again, doing interviews and stuff like that. I'm getting back into used to doing them, but I liked being, away. That's why I was on a ranch in the middle of nowhere for so many years before I came back to NXT. But at that time in my life, I had no fear of anything. So it just, whatever would have happened, and I wouldn't have lost an ounce of sleep over it.
Okay, two last quick things, 'cause I know you have to run. Could I just ask, when were you your happiest? You know, there's obviously the lost your smile moment, and so I feel like people kind of connect you with happiness in terms of, oh, he was happy then, he was on top then, he wasn't happy then. Could you tell me, like, at what point in your career, what era, what chapter, what few month period you look back with the greatest fondness to say, like, man, that was the best. I was truly at my happiest during that run.
So yeah, look, coming back in 2002, from a career standpoint, coming back in 2002, having a second chance, getting to do it differently, getting to be, again, still with my friends, getting to leave the business a bit different than I did the first time, and being someone else, having the support of my family, and I don't know. And again, like, when I came back, Vince said to me, he said, "Look, you remember in '96 when you won the championship, and I told you to enjoy it." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "And you didn't, did you?" And I said, "No." I said, "This one, I want you to remember. I want you to enjoy." And I said, "I will." And I did, and that's why I'll say that. That's why when I stepped away, when I did, it wasn't hard, and it's never been hard. You know what I mean? Because it did. I got to finish it on my terms, and also relationally with the people. You know what I mean? That I worked with for so long, that were a part of my life. My family on the road for so many years. I got to mend all of that as well. And so that's when I have to say that again, when I was the happiest is when getting to complete all of that.
Gosh, you're such a legend. I could pepper you with questions for 2 hours. Alas, we don't have time. I just want to end on this. We had a fighter in July. Her name is Jessica Rose Clark. She fights for the UFC. Do you know about this story?
I do. Well, heck, I sat there and watched it, and then I watched it, and it's like, oh my goodness, she comes out, and then of course she like,
she lost. Yeah,
just like HBK, she gets tapped out pretty.
Yes, unfortunately, but
quickly.
Her nickname is Heartbreaker, awesome. And I said to her, "You should come out to Sexy Boy by the Heartbreak Kid." She wasn't quite aware, but she listened to it and loved it. And I said I would put her on our wall. I would immortalize her forever. So now she's right over here. Her picture, she lost that night, Shawn, but she will live on forever because her picture is right here because she walked out to your entrance song. And she told me, despite the result, she's coming back soon. She's going to continue to walk out your song because it put her in such a good place mentally and emotionally. So I hope you know that. And I was curious, first and foremost, I was just curious if you had seen that and what you thought when you saw a UFC fighter come out to a fight, a female, by the way, come out to a fight to your song.
Yeah. So it was awesome because again, because look, they do it to the Undertakers. He's got cool music. A lot of people have had other performers do that. Not my songs. It's snappy. It's cool. Everybody loves it, but it isn't really that machismo song.
Yeah.
And so to have a fighter come out to my music and go like, okay, they get it. It's like, because I don't know a dude in the world that doesn't love my music.
It's the best.
Toe tapper and it's a snappy tune, but it's one of those things like, yeah, but I can't come out to that before a fight. You know what I mean? So again, to have somebody do that, be proud of it, and enjoy it, and understand and appreciate, how cool that music is. That's why I've never changed it over the years. I mean, it is absolutely one of the greatest songs ever. And so it's very cool when it lives on past you and transitions into other sports.
It has and it will. I wish you nothing but the best. It's so great to see you involved at the level in which you are involved, both you and Hunter. And I wish you nothing but the best in this new chapter with NXT. This was a massive deal for me, a massive honor. So many people were so excited that you'd be on the show today. I can't thank you enough. And I'm rooting for you guys. I hope you guys continue to kill it with NXT. And I hope you continue to kill it personally and professionally in this new role for yourself.
Thank you very much. And I got to say, this is a big deal for me too. I mean,
come on,
you know this, but you're big time, dude.
No,
you really are.
Stop it. I am not big time.
It is, I appreciate you're very supportive of what we do, man, and that means a lot to us. Again, seriously, for those of us that give every ounce of our lives to this, thank you very much for helping us out.
Wow.
You are very good to our business, and we appreciate it.
Golly, that kid in 1997 sitting in the rafters at the Molson Center, if he would have known that Shawn Michaels would have said that to him, sheesh, that's amazing stuff. Thank you for that. That means the world to me, Shawn. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, man.
All right, there he is. Golly, guys.